And welcome back. Today we are flying out in the F-16 in DCS. Flying out with a load of aim120's, and we're mostly here to discuss the Warthunder League, and potentially how aim120's will perform in Warthunder. I've been looking forward to this all year, I've got to admit. Ever since they said that the Gripen would be coming this year, I kind of expected that we'd be seeing aim120's. Now, I know that there are some Russian Su-27s out there, and I know that there's some Su-25s out there, because I made the mission. It's not too exciting. They should intercept with us somewhere near Kutaisi. I didn't throw up AWACS, since this is really just to demonstrate. And right now they're about 160 miles away, and these fellows are about 130 miles away. I honestly probably could have placed them closer, but my first attempt at this, I think I placed them a little bit too close, so I just tossed them on the map and threw them further out this time. Anyway, we're carrying 2 bags, so we should be able to get out there no problem. Just making sure everything's set up the way that I want it before we get there. Now, one of the things I'd like to discuss when it comes to aim120's and Warthunder is how it's going to affect Warthunder in general. I think we all saw when the F-14 joined the game just how powerful Fox 3 missiles could be. They were utterly meta-defining. Before they came out, I remember being able to fly up to altitude and cruise around a bit. I mean, going back, top tier meta in Warthunder has kind of ping-ponged back and forth between a climbing meta and grinding the dirt meta. If you go back far enough before jets were really a thing, you would climb for energy and then you would dive in and, you know, use your energy to stay alive. Once jets came in, a lot of them had instantaneous energy and could create their own energy, so it was more worthwhile to stay on the deck. And then with some of the various missiles that came in, at certain points in time it was good to climb, sometimes it wasn't. It really just depended on what the state of radar was in the game, how fast the planes were. For example, when the Ak-38 and the Harrier came out, it was great to climb up, flank around the other team, and drop on them. But that was because you had ridiculous acceleration, and you could get there before they could. At other times, climbing up was absolutely horrendous and dangerous, because if they stayed low, you were high, they could lock on you with the radar that couldn't look down. But when the F-14 came in, it redefined the meta in Warthunder, and it made it absolutely hostile to do anything other than grind the dirt as hard as you can, because in War Thunder there's some level of protection provided to you by being near the ground when they fire missiles at you. Not so much when you're in the air. Up there you either have to notch, you have to bleed the energy off the missile. It's much more challenging. It's a lot easier to just stay low and use terrain features or try to spoof the radar with the ground, or just fool it into flying into the ground. And there we go, our RWR is finally starting to pick them up. So, how then are the aim120's going to affect Warthunder? To be honest, I think in a lot of ways people are going to overreact to them. They are exceptionally dangerous missiles, but we already have the competitor to the early aim120's in the game, and we've had it for a while now in the R-27ER and the ET. The thing is, in real life, those missiles came around the same time, and we already see they're extremely dangerous missiles in game, but you have to maintain a radar lock with the launching plane. With the aim120, you don't have to do that. Essentially, the aim120 is a juiced up Sparrow that you don't have to maintain a radar lock for. But, similar to the F-14, the missile will generally perform better if you maintain that lock as long as possible. The missile does have its own radar set, but that radar set's always going to be more limited than that of a plane, right? I mean, if you look at the plane, look at the size of the nose, and there's a radar behind there, and look at the size of the nose of those missiles. They're tiny by comparison, so the radar can't be anywhere near as powerful. Moreover, even though the radar can go active early and it can pick up targets and it's still an effective radar, it's not what you want to depend on. So in some ways, the longer range shots that people are going to take in Warthunder, they're going to be very similar to long range Sparrow shots that people are taking right now. But adding to that, the aim120 is not some sort of miracle missile. It has very similar performance, at least the early ones have very similar performance to aim7 Sparrows. That being said, I'm not trying to downplay how dangerous they're going to be. They are going to be dangerous. But if you've spent any amount of time in Warthunder dealing with longer range IR missiles, the sorts that you see on the Russian planes, like the R-23, the R-24, the R-27, it's going to be a lot like that, except your radar warning receiver is going to be going off telling you that something's trying to kill you. So in some ways, it's going to be easier for you to defend against. In other ways, it's going to be extremely detrimental. But all of this is to say that I think people, just going off my experience with the Warthunder community and knowing how sensational people in the Warthunder community can be, I think it's very, very likely that people are going to heavily overreact, and that people are going to think that this is the apocalypse and they're not going to know what to do. And after a few weeks, after some of the better players out there, like Defin for example, come out with videos and tell people how to fly, I think a lot of that will clear up. But, like I said, they're going to be extremely dangerous to start out with. So, we have a lock on our first target. He is a very long ways out. See, on the right there you can see whether or not we're in range to even attempt a shot at him. We are not in range. We are closing on him rapidly though. I mean, he's flying straight at us, but yeah, we're about at 20 miles. We can fire at him right now, and we'll probably not hit him, but you never know. We'll keep the lock. We'll even keep flying straight at him. I don't think he's going to take a shot at us. I don't remember how I armed them or if I gave them parameters to fight back. This is really just to demonstrate the capabilities of the missile. See, ideally you would normally want to roll out and bleed energy and off of their missiles, because they should be firing back. See, right now, we could absolutely kill this guy. He is absolutely close enough now. We did lose our lock, though. But, if we switch... Oh, we actually did hit him! Alright, more the full eye. Looks like we can hit him when we're head-on at 26 miles. If they'll merge with me. Yeah, they're gonna merge with me. See, I should have programmed them to be passive. That would do a better job of showing off what I'm trying to... So what I wanted to do was get behind them and do a shot from behind and show that the missile's not necessarily gonna chase somebody down. Essentially, the tactic that people will use when it comes to using aim120's will be to fire off a missile. Like, let's assume, I'm assuming that they're not going to shoot at me. Let's assume that there's a target in front of me. Let's just say he's at 25 miles, and I shoot another one of these shots. I would want to crank the plane as hard as I can to the left or the right, so that then I maintain radar lock on the target, so it'll be sitting right around here. And I want to hold that as long as I can, without putting myself in too much danger. And if they fire at me, I might have to roll out and go cold and fly away from it, because the missile, as long as you're outside of its abort range, won't have enough energy to chase you down. Or if they go defensive, then I can instead turn in, go aggressive, and try to fire off another shot at them. It's a bit of an interesting playstyle. On a map, it basically looks like two planes making a wave. If you can imagine, like a heartbeat sensor, right, where it goes like beep, 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 right, up, down, up, down, up, down. That's essentially what planes do. They'll commit in, they'll fire a missile, they'll turn out, they'll go cold, they'll come back in, so on and so forth. Now in Warthunder, that's probably not going to be the case. In Warthunder, we like to play super aggressive. We like to take lots of risks. Actually, I might be able to do one of these rear shots on one of these Su-25s now that I think about it. Let's see, they're about 28 miles. Were they 264? So they're about this direction. Yep, there we go. Got one right there. So, we are in burner. We are 20... Oh, they actually are shooting at me, huh? Go figure. 25 miles behind him. We can fire a missile here, and there's a very good chance this missile is never going to get near him. That was at 24 miles, so about the same distance as the first missile that we shot at the guy head-on.
Bingo. Bingo.
I would be shocked if this missile actually makes it to him. He is in an Su-27, so, I mean, it's not the fastest plane in the world. But our HUD symbology pretty much shows us whether or not it can make it to him. And it was not anywhere near him. And look at that. The missile is already...
Counter.
Let's see, do I have its speed? Yeah, it's already slowing down drastically, and it's still 15 miles away. So it doesn't look like we can take a 10-mile shot. I'm wondering if these guys are going to finally kill us. I mean, they've been circling around us for a while now. Anyway, and we can actually punch our backs off. We don't need them anymore. He's at 17 miles now, and we fired at 24. But as you saw, the missile's not going to chase you down at 20 miles. It probably wouldn't have chased him down at 15 miles. We're probably going to have to get right on top of him. I mean, I'm going to run the plane out of fuel just trying to do it, to get in range of firing one of these aim120's at him while he flies away from us. So, all of this is to point out, or to say, that a lot of what you've already experienced in Warthunder when it comes to the larger all-aspect IR missiles is going to apply to these aim120's. You're going to be able to see them coming, though, unlike the IR missiles. I mean, the IR missiles, because we carry a decent amount of flares and because people pop them so much in top-tier gameplay, they're not the best thing in the world, because there's a good chance they're going to get flared off by a random flare that wasn't even intended for them.
Counter.
There we go. See, we're starting to come into range now. And we're at 7 miles. We'll fire a shot at about 5 miles, and we'll see if we hit this guy. I'm pretty sure that we will, but you never know. There we go, Fox 3. This should kill him. We're almost right on top of him. We could probably even hit him with an aim9X at this range if we carried any. But this is an aim120 video. And that's that. Let's see. Yeah, I don't
Bingo.
think we're realistically going to get
Bingo.
behind
Warning,
any of the
warning.
other ones.
Warning, warning.
And as I said, we ran ourselves out of fuel trying to do this.
Caution.
Anyway, the moral of the story here is that I think it's really exciting that we're getting aim120's in the game. It's something I've looked forward to for a very long time. But at the same time, I also don't think that they're going to be anywhere near as powerful or as scary as people think they're going to be. I think they're really just going to perform like longer ranged, more noticeable IR missiles. Anybody who's had the R-27, I wonder if we'll be able to slow down for this. My air brake should be coming out. We still have power. Anybody who's flown against the R-27 ET, this shouldn't really be a huge change for you. We are coming in fast, but I have no fuel and no power, so I'm trying to bleed speed. Yeah, there's no way we land this well. This is going to be the ugliest, deadliest landing you will have ever seen. We're landing halfway down the runway, we're out of fuel, speed's too high, we're going into the dirt. No question about it. And the HUD turned off right in time. Boop. Into the dirt. I'm sorry, Mr. Taxpayer. Our multi-million-dollar plane is mildly scuffed. But hey, compared to some of the Warthunder landings that I've made, pretty clean. We still have the landing gear. There's no holes in my left wing. All in all, not the worst that we've had. But yeah, I think it's very exciting that the aim120's are coming. I think it's amazing some of the aircraft that we're going to see coming with them. But I don't think that they're going to be as scary as some people might expect them to be. It's a missile. And bear in mind, these are, I was going to say it's a missile, and we already have lots of dangerous missiles in the game, but that's not really fair. These ones are aim120's. I expect we're going to get aim120A's or B's first, and we're probably going to sit on those for a while, and they're not going to have the same capabilities of even these. So, if you imagine that these can kill somebody at about 25 miles head-on, so about 50, 60 kilometers head-on. I use kilometers in Warthunder, and obviously I'm flying a metric plane here, so we're in, or an Imperial plane here, so we're in Imperial. And if I can't kill somebody at 25 miles from behind, and I probably can't kill somebody at 17 miles from behind, or 15 for that matter, then you probably can't kill somebody at, 2.2, right? So it's 30-ish 5 miles, right? Or kilometers. You're probably safe from them from behind. If somebody gets up on you, though, at 5 miles, so, 12 kilometers, you're in trouble. You're really, really in trouble. And if you're head-on inside of 30 miles, so 50 kilometers, you're in trouble. So as long as you're aware of your RWR, as long as you turn out and you use terrain to your advantage, I don't think that they're going to be that bad. Again, the missiles in War Thunder, they do this thing where they get near the ground and they go stupid. Some of them it makes sense on because some of them can't deal with terrain interference. Some of them it makes sense because you flew them into the ground and you made the missile think you were gonna, go through the ground. Some of them it doesn't make so much sense. You kind of have a little safety net near the ground. So as long as people use that to their advantage, people are aware of their RWR and they turn cold, It should be fine. I think the biggest concern is that Warthunder top tier matches right now just have too many players in them. And because they have so many players in them, it's going to be so chaotic that even though your RWR is screaming at you, it's going to be screaming at you for like 2.5, 3 minutes. You're going to probably ignore it because you don't know if it's somebody with an aim 7 locking onto you at like 50 miles, or if it's some guy that's actually within range with an aim 120 to fire at you. So, I mean, there is that issue, right? But if you look at it on a smaller scale, because I really hope that they start pulling players out of matches in War Thunder. I would really like to see matches that are about half the size. Um, but even if we don't, as long as you're aware of your RWR and you're willing to turn cold and you're willing to play defensively, as long as you don't get people too close to you chasing you down, I mean it should be alright. I mean, the countermeasures in the game right now already barely do anything to radar missiles, so I wouldn't be terribly surprised if your chaff does nothing to these. Um, we'll see how they model them. You might be able to notch them and pop chaff to get them off, but I feel like that's going to be more of a niche situation. It's really going to turn more into a positional game than it already is. Um, unless like I don't know, like a rock paper scissors game, like we had like a year or two ago, where it was, do I have good missile? Do you have flares? Fire missile, pop flare. It's probably going to be less like that and more about where you put yourself. And to be fair, the bigger maps that they've been bringing in are probably being brought in with this as their ultimate expectation that they'll be in the game. So yeah, I'm excited to see them. I just I recognize how dangerous that they are. I just don't think that they're going to be the hysterical, apocalyptic, end of war thunder kind of missile that I think a lot of people are going to claim they are when they first come out. I'm thinking back to when the SRAMs first got added to the British Harrier, and people absolutely lost their minds. They thought it was the craziest, most powerful, most wild missile that anybody had ever seen. I mean, by comparison, when the R-73 and the AIM-9M came out, I think the reaction was more tame. And maybe that's because people have grown accustomed to IR missiles, and even though they were much more powerful, it wasn't such a tremendous leap that it put people off. But yeah, change is coming. We're going to see some really interesting airframes in War Thunder. We're going to see a lot of interesting missiles. I think potentially what I'm most excited to see is how the R-77 performs in War Thunder. We have the R-77 in DCS, but it's kind of bad. It doesn't keep its speed very well, and it gets outperformed by the aim 120's pretty significantly. Although, to be fair, we fly with aim 120's a lot in DCS, and the only R-77 we have is like a first generation R-77, so it's really not saying a ton. Um, Again, I expect that we're gonna get aim 120As or Bs, and we're gonna sit on them for a while before we get Cs or C5s or I think they have the aim 120D now in real life. I don't keep up that well with all the weapon systems that we currently have. But the point is, they're gradually going to become more dangerous, but it'll be like dipping your toes in a hot tub. It'll be hot at first, and then you'll get comfortable, and then if you turn up the heat a little bit, sure, it'll be hotter, but you won't really notice how much hotter it's getting. You know, because we'll already understand how these missiles perform, and even though there will be more performance coming out of the Cs than the Bs, it probably won't be so much that it radically changes the game. Um, and I don't think that these are going to be as monumentally game-changing as the Phoenixes were. But that's mostly because the Phoenix missile is an enormous missile that goes extremely fast and can hit things at extremely long range. These missiles perform a lot more like the aim-7's that we're used to, but you can fire them and you can forget them. And because you can fire them and forget them, it adds to your user survivability, but at the same time, it doesn't add a ton of extra reach. It's very similar in range and performance to an aim-7. I mean, I should have actually done this in the F-18, so I could have put them both on, and you can see the missiles are very, very similar in appearance as well. But yeah, thanks for sticking with me. I know I rambled on a bit there. But yeah, I hope you're all excited for the end of the year in Warthunder. I sure am. I'm sure I'll start throwing out some Warthunder content. So yeah, get out there, grind out your F-16s and your MiG-29s now, because if I was a guessing Drew, and I sometimes am, I'd say we should be getting a Legacy Hornet soon. We should be getting a first generation F-15 soon. We should be getting a first generation Su-27 soon. But we'll see. Get out there and win your games.